y'all for having me here, first of all. It's our duty, our obligation, our sacred trust as Unitarian Universalists and as people of faith to create the beloved community. The beloved community that the great American philosopher Josiah Royce described, the place where we live together in peace and harmony, where we take care of each other, where all are welcome, where all are loved. It's the place that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke so eloquently of many years ago. And I'm here to tell you today that we have a problem in the beloved community that we want to create here. And we have a chance, now more than ever, to take a step towards making that beloved community a reality. I assume if you haven't been living under a rock for the last few months, you've heard something about healthcare and what might be done about it and what might be wrong with it and just how that should be done, and perhaps some people who are losing their heads just a little bit about the subject. So yeah, I'm going to talk about healthcare today. It's something important. I fear it's all too easy to lose sight of that importance, and it's even easier to lose sight of just why it's important. So let's take a second and think about this, and I'll use some words that are better than any I could have written. These are from the Reverend Peter Morales, the recently elected president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, of which this congregation is a part. He wrote this in an open letter a few weeks ago. Friends, the current hysteria and rancor in the debate over healthcare policy are profoundly disturbing. The issues here go far beyond normal public policy debate. Religious principles central to our shared Unitarian Universalist faith are involved. The first religious principle at stake is compassion. We must be a strong, persistent voice that reminds our nation and our leaders that compassion is central to all major faith traditions. We must insist that healthcare reform protects those without political clout, children, the poor, the disabled, the elderly. To stand on the side of love is to stand with those who are on the margins. The second principle of our faith we must affirm today is our commitment to the democratic process. We are witnessing cynical demagoguery that plays on fear in order to defend privilege. There is no place for intimidation in our public discussion. Demagogues foment fear and panic that lead to violence. As religious people, we must oppose intimidation. True democracy can only exist where each voice is heard, where debate is open and civil, where people can disagree without being threatened. Good people can and do disagree about healthcare policy. However, we must all join together to demand open, respectful debate. As religious people, let us insist on two things. We must create a healthcare system that protects the most vulnerable, and we must insist on a democratic process that is open to all. So Reverend Morales wrote a few weeks ago, and I don't think I could say it better, so I won't try to. But to paraphrase another great religious leader, a guy you might have heard of named Jesus, what we do for among the least among us, we do for the greatest. We will be judged, whether by ourselves or by the Spirit of life, on the way we treat those whom we have no other reason to help besides their inherent worth and dignity, as our principles state. And that's how we should be judged. Nothing is more important than making sure that the most vulnerable among us won't die simply because of a lack of access to reasonable medical care. And that's a problem these days because the most vulnerable among us are truly in danger. I've seen it. I recently began volunteering at a hospice and medical recovery center in South Austin. It's run by a Catholic worker who's a longtime friend of the family. In fact, it's her home. It sounds grand to call it a hospice and recovery center when it's really her home that she's open to these people. The residents, there are about 10 at any given time, are there because they have nowhere else to go. Many are homeless, many are recovering addicts. All of them are grateful to have a roof over their heads and food to eat. When I'm there, I run errands or help make dinner or just sit and talk to the residents. They're people who have lived hard lives. They know more about faith and hope and love and tragedy than just about anyone I've ever encountered. As a Catholic worker told me the first time I visited, if I'm going to be a minister one day, God willing, I might as well meet people who have seen hell already. Some of these people are there to die, to succumb to whatever medical problem that can no longer be treated. For them, the goal is just to see they're as comfortable as possible and be there for them. But the most striking stories are the ones who aren't going to die, at least hopefully, if Mary House has anything to do with it. In recent months, 2 different men have come there days after having open heart surgery. You see, when someone shows up and their arteries are mostly blocked in the hospital has to treat them. They're required by law to help these people. I think they ethically want to do the right thing. So they cut them open, they fix the arteries, they sew them back up, and then 2 days later they're put out on the street because they're not required to treat them any longer. And of course, these two men don't have any sort of insurance, they don't have any money to speak of. So they're back on the street in the 100-degree weather we've all been enjoying the last 3 months. And they try to find a place to recover. And for these men, it really is the street, or whatever bit of open space underneath the trees they can find somewhere in this heat. And there they would probably die. But these two men were particularly lucky in that the Catholic worker heard through some people on the street about these two men. She found them and she brought them back to Mary House. There they're getting a chance to recover indoors in air conditioning. They get food, they get some access to medical care that she can make happen, and they slowly regain their strength. Mary House, which is the name of the facility, which is basically to say the efforts of one Catholic worker and whoever she can rope in to help her, including my mother on many occasions, is trying to fill a gap in our nation's safety net that you could drive a truck through. Too many people aren't lucky enough to be one of the 10 or so that can fit in Mary House at any time. And that's a problem. But I don't want to mislead you into thinking that the only people that this healthcare system is failing are the homeless and others on the margin. I hope I don't have to convince you that our current healthcare system is broken. I hope it's obvious, even if you've never had to deal with our fractured, fragmented, impossible to understand system. I hope it's obvious that something is wrong when insurance executives and not medical personnel make decisions about what treatments will and will not be provided and to whom. I hope it's obvious that something is wrong. I hope it's obvious something is wrong when you can be told that you might die in a few hours if you don't get to a hospital, but once you get there, it takes 4 hours of paperwork and insurance verification before you get any treatment, which is what happened to me one time. I hope I don't have to point out that nearly all of us, are just a lost job or a serious illness or a terrible accident away from being in real trouble. I've seen this personally, and I'm guessing most of you have too. You have a friend who's fought cancer, spending every dollar of their health insurance money and all the money they've saved up for retirement or for the kids' education or for the mortgage payments just to try to fight that disease and live. You shouldn't have to throw away your life just to save your life. So my message today is simple. Something is wrong with our system. I hope we can agree on that. And we have to do something about it. I hope we can agree on that too. Because people are dying. Not because it's their time, or because there isn't anything we can do to help them, or it's just because the system is broken. Broken so too often we lose sight of what medical care is supposed to do, make people. I want to involve the many, many economic reasons that providing decent health care to all people makes sense. It's cheaper to give decent preventative care than to treat diseases that have already progressed to a dangerous point. It's cheaper and more efficient if people can see a primary care physician early on instead of showing up to an emergency room later, where it's much more expensive to treat even relatively minor medical matters. Things that have been taken. Those matters shouldn't even matter. Those secondary care is the main reason is saving lives. All of which probably begs the question, what should we do about this, right? Some of the ideas are simple. Write a representative in Congress, write President Obama, tell your fellow citizens. Make sure you let it be known just how you feel about this, just what you think this nation should be doing about healthcare. Write to newspapers, put it on your Facebook status, tell your friends. But remember this too, it's all too easy to get caught up in the fray and forget what really matters, what part of the issue is. Don't let the rhetoric suck you up. Don't talk about death panels. Don't talk about single payer versus multiple option, government versus private enterprise, big insurance versus money versus big government. There's something more important. The system isn't working, and we need to find a way to make it work. The details will take care of themselves if we can all agree on that. We're here, as many before me have said, and many will say after me, no doubt, to help create the beloved community of which we want to be a part of. In that beloved community, people are healthy and happy. They get sick, sure, but they also get regular preventative treatment and have access to decent health care when they do get sick. That's the community I envision us being a part of. That's the community I want us to work for. So I'm here to tell you to stay strong, because goodness knows the way won't be easy. Nobody ever said that creating the beloved community would be simple or wouldn't take effort on all our parts. So I urge you today to do your part. Yes, call or write your representative. Yes, make your views known. Yes, do what you can make to health care for everyone a reality. Do what you can to make the beloved community a reality. Amen.